Welcome back to another edition of Max Nicky VGM Reactions.
Today we're going to be listening to Brinstar from the video game Metroid off the Nintendo Entertainment System.
That's the original Metroid.
The original Metroid, and this is the main theme of the main level in Metroid. It's a very good track. Love it.
If you're new to the channel, or if you haven't done so already and you like what you hear, please click on the subscribe button.
Hit the like button, and if you're feeling extra generous and you want to help us grow this channel, please donate to us on Venmo or PayPal. The links will be in the description below. Not necessary, no obligation, but if you'd like to be generous, please go ahead and do so.
But it's also generous enough if you just want to listen and pay attention to our channel.
Also, if you want to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Max and Nicky, that'd be great. You can watch our comedy and music videos on there.
But for right now, let's get into Brinstar from Metroid off the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Here we go.
All right, that was Brinstar from Metroid off the NES. This is a classic.
It's a short loop on this song, but it's really good.
Well, it's a pretty standard sized loop, I would say, for a Nintendo game.
It's, there's a lot going on this track, actually.
There is. I will just first note, though,
that contrapuntal motion going on.
Sure. Well, as a lot of Nintendo games are, because of the limited... the limited channels that they had to be able to produce sounds on. So they kind of had to create more of a contrapuntal music to make suggest the harmony.
But to also suggest more of a fullness to the song.
To suggest more of a fullness and to suggest more of suggest the harmony that is going on.
Or suggest the harmonic quality, I guess, of the song, yeah.
Right. But also I wanted to note, though, there isn't a lot of... I mean, obviously, you also have a limited, often in Nintendo, especially in, well, when was this year, the year was this made?
I believe 85. Oh, you know what? We actually didn't mention the composer.
Forgive us, we forgot to mention the composer of the game.
It's the legendary Hirokazu Tanaka, or Hirohip Tanaka. He wrote...
Why? Because he is hip.
He is, and he wrote, the music to Kid Icarus and this, and many other classic Nintendo games.
And what year was this made? 86?
This was made in 85? 86. It is 86.
86, yes. Yeah. Anyway, this is an earlier Nintendo game. Nintendo came out in 85, is that correct?
I believe so.
Or Famicom, did that come out in 84 maybe?
No, let's not try to get into too much of the history of this.
Anyway, well, I just will say it's an earlier Nintendo game, and the sounds that are produced on this are
pretty primitive, I guess.
Pretty primitive. So there isn't a lot of variation in the different channels. The sounds are fairly similar, I would say. You know.
Yeah, but there's things
the
you
bass
can do
sounds
to
a little
change
bit different.
the quality of the sound. I guess. I guess.
What's that?
You can kind of mess with the quality.
No,
of
but
the
that's
sound
what
a
I'm
little
trying
bit.
to say. Even like on the lower, sorry for saying like, I'm trying not to say like too much. The higher voices are similar in timbre to the lower voices, you know?
Sort of, yeah. Although I would say there's a distinct difference between the bass sounds and the
I would
higher
say the
sounds.
bass sound, yeah, but I would just say that there isn't a whole lot going on timbre.
But I will say, so let's get into the sort of structure of this song. It starts off with this dun 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 dun
Dun, da, 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 dun.
dun. But then the melody comes in, and then if you focus more on the bass, which I did the second loop around, there's a lot going on the bass that's really cool. But then when it gets to sort of the B section, it's a little bit more straight notes. Like it's, you know, there's more in the first part of the melody, there's more vertical motion with the bass, but then on the second section or the B section, it's more of a horizontal motion or kind of sing like like it's a lot of repetition of notes on the B section instead of more vertical motion, I guess, you know.
But then
it gets to the
more
bridge
complex
section
even after.
The bass starts doing more stuff, and then this counter melody. After that, this counter melody comes in and starts, working, I guess, in tandem, but also against the main melody, and it's creating its own melody. Really, it's truly a counter melody going on.
The bass.
No, not the bass. There's another melody going on.
Oh. You mean there's two upper voices?
There's two upper voices going on. But
Yes.
there's also more going on in the bass as well.
There's much more going on in the bass, I feel. In fact, I was trying to zone in on that, actually, focus on that during the second loop, is the bass.
Well, but
and it's pretty interesting.
It's actually, I was zoning in even more so on that second upper voice on the second loop.
But it does this
which
sort
is
of
really interesting.
Bum, 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 bum. It does this stepwise thing, and then it turns into a little bit more of a complex rhythm.
If you ever listen to Baroque music and you think this kind of sounds like video game music, well, it's because of games like this or music like this where they're using sort of the foundations that are set forth in the Baroque era by people like Bach, and it's, you know, you're hearing a lot of stuff that...
So when Nicky was originally saying contrapuntal motion or counterpoint...
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah,
for those of you who are not...
if you're
don't
not
know music theory,
informed, if you're not knowledgeable about music theory or the history of music, it means that there's a lot of counter melodies going on.
Well, what does that even mean? It means there's a main melody going on that you can sing along to, but there's another melody going on at the same time.
On top of that or below that, and at the same time, and the bass is also suggesting another melody in of itself as well. Not suggesting, but is another melody in of itself. And so instead of having maybe, like, let's say you're playing the piano and you have just playing a block chord.
What's a block chord?
A block chord, or just playing all the notes at once to create a harmony and then playing a melody on top of that. That wouldn't be counterpoint, but this is it's the melodies that are working together, the counter melodies working together that help suggest the harmony that you have actually.
It's almost kind of like arpeggiation in a way.
No.
Like in what arpeggios would suggest a harmony, but because the notes are not playing.
Well, yeah,
at the same
something
time.
could be suggesting harmony through I mean, it is just playing the harmony when you're arpeggiating.
Yeah.
But in this way, each note of a melody, for instance, let's say you stacked them on top of each other. Like, let's say you have one melody down here, one melody in the middle, one melody on top, and if you stacked the notes at the same time that are being played at the same time of those melodies, that would create the harmony, if that makes sense.
I know we're getting into the weeds here, guys, with the music theory, but it is.
But that
really
happens often.
It's really evident in music like this, where it sounds like they're utilizing the sort of foundations of Baroque music, actually, or just of Western classical music, you know, to write these pieces because they had to, you know.
Sure. Or maybe they stumbled on to having to do that because of the limitations of the programming they had.
Right.
You know?
But look, it's a great melody. I love this. This is not even my favorite track from the video game. Kraid's Lair is.
Well, yeah, let's talk about the melody. I mean, it feels like you're
starting an adventure.
You're starting an adventure and you're getting through it, and it's dumb. But I mean, it really feels triumphant in a way.
Yes.
But triumphant, not that you've won anything, but triumphant in
majestic almost. No, not quite majestic.
I wouldn't call it majestic.
No,
but
I wouldn't either.
I would call it just sort of
adventure.
Sort of,
it evokes sense of adventure.
It's sense of adventure, but there's a triumphant sense of it too, because you're going up.
Well, maybe not triumphant, but determined. There's a determination that is behind it all, right?
Bum ba dum bum. I mean, I almost think of bum ba dum bum bum bum. Which,
like Superman.
It has a Superman. It feels triumphant.
And you know what? A lot of these composers from Japan at the time, the video game composers, they were influenced by John Williams. I mean, if you even
were they really?
I mean, just listen to the music to Star Fox, which came about a little bit later on the Super Nintendo, but the main theme to that game sounds exactly like John Williams. It sounds so influenced by John Williams that it sounds like John Williams wrote that music.
Yeah, perhaps. But I mean, you can't be certain.
No,
though.
I think actually a lot of these composers for video games were influenced by Western movie composers at the time, I feel.
Well, Star Fox is several years later.
No, but even just with
Metroid.
the music to Zelda, like things like that,
Well, I mean, but you don't know for 100% sure that they're influenced by John Williams.
I don't know for sure, but actually a lot of them, all of them were really influenced by Holst, actually,
Well, a lot of movie composers are influenced by Holst.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
I mean, listen to Hans Zimmer.
I mean, look, a lot of them were influenced by the Yellow Magic Orchestra, which is Japanese, and Rishi Sakamoto's in that, and he's influenced by Debussy. So
Anyway, there's many influences going on here, but yeah, certainly this sounds like it's influenced by some sort of John Williams-esque type of thing going on.
Sure.
Anyway, great track, great video game. It's a classic. I think that'll do it for this video game music reaction.
If you like what you heard and saw today, make sure to hit the subscribe button, click the like button, and make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Max Nicky. And if you're feeling extra generous and you want to support the channel,
please consider donating to us at Venmo and PayPal. The links are in the description below.
That'll do it for this edition of Max Nicky VGM Reactions.
See you next time.